I became quite well known. Big fish in a small pond kind of thing. I had achieved a certain level of control of that environment that was pretty well respected. I have boxes full of awards and commendations and certificates. I felt like people knew me, and as a result of that, I could make good things happen for people. I could help people change their lives. So when I retired, I was 71, and now I'm 74, which is hard to believe. I mean, you never think you're going to get that old. You know, this is what 74 looks like these days, I guess. I was looking forward to the good parts of retirement, working in my studio, working in my garden, seeing my family more, my children, my grandchildren. Just being who I was and getting used to that was a little more challenging than I had anticipated. I wasn't comfortable with where I had put myself. I needed really some time to adjust to a much less directed life. I didn't start working at the Department of Corrections until I was almost 40. Before that, I had had my career as an artist and art teacher and raising my children. In my first job, when I was the coordinator of arts programs, it was sort of a natural for me, although the prison was a foreign element. After a year or so, became the coordinator of the education unit. And I was asked in the early 90s by the director whether I would consider becoming the warden of the women's prison. My life changed significantly, and that was a very sharp learning curve and a hard job for me. I did that for 10 years. I am amazed that I was able to survive in that system, and that the system allowed me to not just survive, but to thrive. My goals were quite simple. Clearly, women in prison get the short end of every stick because there are so few of them relatively. They did not have equal access to all of the programming that I thought they needed. And my career at the women's prison was a continual effort to address that deficiency. And at the same time, also addressing a culture in that unit that was abusive. You know, many days during those years, I would drive home and tears would form in my eyes.
It's not like even though she was the warden, everybody did what she said. I mean, there were so many challenges to her in that job. And I don't think she had ever met with such oppositional force. And the force was a force that wanted to keep, you know, bad things in place, right? Which she simply would not stand for.
I felt as though I had to be there. That was, if I wasn't there, things weren't going to change. And I sincerely felt that. By the end of my time there, I had institutionalized programming that was gender responsive and appropriate for women. I had addressed a whole bunch of misconduct, sexual misconduct, and violence that needed to be addressed. And so I was ready to move on. When I worked in that world, on a day-to-day basis, I could make somebody feel better. Now I didn't have that anymore. And I felt a strong need to replace that. I focused all my energy on one organization, which is the Institute for the Study and Practice of Nonviolence in Providence. And I became involved in a program called College Unbound. So what we need to try to figure out...
I'm Melissa DeRosa. I am the Pawtucket Street Worker for the Institute. I respond to all incidents of violence in Pawtucket.
Melissa works closely with the police and with social service agencies, and she builds relationships with kids who are at risk, very high risk, for violent crime.
She's taught me to deal with everything that kind of comes to me in a more like humane and more humble, and even like toning my voice and my presentation, and you know, because you get more results when you're like that.
I love going into that neighborhood where the people who I worked with all those many years live. So it gave me an opportunity on a regular basis to be with people who were certainly well beyond inmate life. They were people who had had very difficult lives, and they are people who have come out of that and are really in a whole healthier, much better place in their lives, but still struggle. There's no reason why you shouldn't take advantage of stuff that's going to make life easier for you, even though you don't earn big bucks. I try to meditate. I'm not very good at it, but that whole notion of being mindful of the world around you and thoughtful and recognizing that there's a time and a place for everything in your life, and this is mine.
She has a sort of a temperament that allows her to do a lot of different things. I think she's in a groove now. I really do. I think she's in a very good place.
I feel so grateful for having had the life I've had. And I was incredibly lucky to fall into this career by chance, by accident, that allowed me to be in this place where I could make people happy, where I could help people change their lives. How lucky is that? How many people have that?